You're listening to the Feed Your Wild podcast, a conscious lifestyle show about all things nourishing for your body, mind, and soul. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join me for candid conversations with changemakers, exploring health and wellness, food as medicine, intuition and spirituality, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and feed all parts of your wild self. Hello. Welcome back. I'm welcoming myself back to this space. If you hear a little bit of fuzziness, stuffed upness in my own voice, that's because I'm still getting over journeying the after effects of COVID, which hit my family, my little family, pretty hard. And hence I was unable to do anything really for like 2 weeks. But I had initially planned on doing a podcast episode for the new moon in Virgo, our last new moon. And I even had woken up to an Akashic record reading that was waiting for me from our guides. And so I thought, oh, this is interesting. Okay, we're gonna do this. And this was leading up to the new moon in Virgo. And lo and behold, we started to feel sick. And when I attempted to record, every time I tried to record, it just wasn't happening. There was interruptions. When I tried to do a walkie-talkie, my son Santos was shifting and making a ton of noise and not allowing me to do it, which typically he does. And so I took that as, okay, I'm supposed to just go with the flow and trust that this is going to get out there when it's supposed to get out there. And what's so interesting is that because of that, because I was unable to record, I just sort of really dropped into the flow of my day, and a lot was revealed throughout the rest of the day that was, some pretty big shifts in news for my family. One of which that we are going to be moving, and we don't know yet where, at least at this point when I'm recording, where we're going. But there, as you can tell, just lots of like tectonic plates shifting, and I feel that so much for everyone. So what I thought that I would do today, and of course today we are talking about the full moon in Pisces, but I did want to bring us back to orient us from where we might have been experiencing things with the new moon and then journeying to this full moon, because again, I had this reading, this Akashic reading that came through. So I'm definitely going to share that with you today. And of course, all of the readings that I receive, even though they're channeled for that particular cosmic energetic signature of that day or that moon phase, they're really perennial. They are meant to be received and communed with at any point in time, because as you may know, this linear timeline that we perceive through our brains is not really reality, right? And the Akashic Records operates in the spiritual world and time, which is beyond space and beyond linear time. So again, these readings are meant for any time and all time. And so I'll make sure to share that. So let's do a quickie review of what was maybe happening around the new moon in Virgo time, and then bringing us to our present time with this full harvest moon in Pisces. Now, when I look back at the new moon, Virgo new moons, or Virgo moons in general, really hit my family hard, like every time, especially my partner. He has his moon in Virgo. And so I feel for anybody who has a lot of big Virgo placements, or maybe your moon in Virgo as well, that you might have felt this extra. And I know that we did. So he got sick first, and then my baby got sick, and then I got sick, and then it was just a shit show at our house, as I know many of you have experienced. That was the first time that we were exposed to and journeyed with COVID. And, I have all the things in place, like all the remedies and herbs and ways to take care of ourselves. And so we implemented all of the things, and we made it through. But it definitely was part of this like pre-retrograde madness that was going on with Mercury retrograde, which as of today, with this full moon in Pisces, Mercury has stationed retrograde along with a bunch of other planets. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. But having fallen in that earthy sign of Virgo and being in Virgo season, there is that really grounded energy to the new moon, and really beckoning us to sink our feet into the earth and to feel a part of all that surrounds us. And what better way to do that than to get sick and have to really be in the present moment and be in your body, and maybe very uncomfortably so experiencing that. So you may have had your own version of that experience, and under that energy of that Virgo new moon, it was really about accepting our reality, accepting what is and what was, like what was happening, and to bring ourselves back down to earth and recognizing that our soul chose to be here on this planet at this time. So if you were challenged with some pretty difficult or sticky situations or context, part of this is a reminder that we are human, we are here, we chose to experience this discomfort on some level, and what are the lessons here? What are we receiving through that experience? And of course, to give yourself permission to fully and wholeheartedly accept where you are, and that where you are is exactly where you need to be, and that all that is unfolding right now is really leading you to your highest growth and your highest expression of your soul. The Virgin Goddess is the symbol connected to Virgo, and she really symbolizes wholeness. So virgin, the original meaning is a woman that is whole unto herself, so complete in herself. She is full, she is satisfied in her being. She is the source of her own wisdom. And so the Virgin Goddess in that way reminds us to activate our own inner power and to remember that all that we need can be found within us, right? And that we do have access to resources. It's not about doing it all alone. It's about tapping into the wellspring that we are connected to within us, and that we have support in the seen realms and the unseen realms. And we just really have to take the steps to listen, to honor our mind, our body, our soul, and to also treat our body as that sacred temple that it is. And, we were brought to our knees in doing that with COVID over the past couple of weeks, but it doesn't necessarily require getting sick in order to practice that deep, deep ceremony with yourself and your body. So one of the best ways to use that energy, or to have used it and to continue to use this energy, is to think about ways that we can embody the idea that our body is the temple, is a temple. And can you treat yourself as like this sacred being? So There is Mars, the planet of action, energy, and fire, that's very active under that new moon. It's also very active under this full moon in Pisces. And the energy of Mars can sometimes make us feel a little irritable. It can bring up a lot of fears and insecurities. It could be inflammatory, a lot of heat around Mars. It can deplete our energy levels and our tolerance levels to certain things, and make us lose patience or feel frustration. But Mars energy can also be channeled in really beautiful ways, like in physical activity and in creativity and power. And so continuing to work with and utilize this energy, it can be in a productive way. It could be really supportive and productive for us. It can help support our confidence levels and stamina, the stamina that we might need to push past some challenges or fears that are coming up. We have talked about Uranus before, but Uranus in the North Node is our collective destiny. And so this is really about evolutionary jumps. This is a theme that continues into this current lunation. And Uranus stationed retrograde at 18 degrees on the 24th. And so we might feel this restlessness, especially if you have this in fixed signs. There's like this intensity, this intense desire for change, and maybe change from the outside that you might be experiencing. So before we jump into the Pisces full moon, I wanted to share the Akashic reading that came through for the new moon in Virgo. And while there's a lot of that Virgo energy and that new moon energy in this reading, I feel like it's a bridge to carry us into this particular lunation, but also beyond. And so I encourage you to just open up and tune in and take what really lands and resonates for you and leave the rest. And then we'll move into looking at this full moon in Pisces. So here's our reading that came through for the new moon in Virgo. The sheaths are slowly peeling away, revealing the truths held within. Some of these truths have been felt, known through intuitive processes, through the bodily senses, and through seeds planted long ago within. Our truths have been kept safely hidden until the time has come for its emergence into the collective awareness. These are truths that have activating forces, sparking a series of openings and shifts that require fertile soil. You could say divine timing and placing. The time has come for a rapid expansion, and through this evolutionary process, you are being invited, if not forced, to evolve your consciousness and relational frequencies. This includes your personal relationship and ways of relating to your many selves, as well as your relations with others. By other, we mean all energetic signatures that intermingle with our own, all beings seen and unseen. You yourself carry many beings you might initially consider other within you. These residential beings play many roles and are present at different planes of existence. You are just touching the tip of the proverbial iceberg in your discovery of the microbiotic beings and environment that make up part of your own beingness and physical body. Yet there are so many other players, we'll call them, that not only influence your existence on a day-to-day basis, as well as across timelines and dimensions, but without them, you would not exist. Your duty is not to know what these beings or players are, but rather tend to the relationship that already exists, and know thy neighbor as you know thyself. It is through relational knowing that the garden of your Eden is cultivated and nurtured in support of your evolutionary process in concert with these beings. It's rather simple. Despite the complexity beyond mental comprehension, it is not meant to be known by the logical mind, but rather to be known through the heart and your spiritual self. A primary practice is tending to your earth body. Matter matters in this regard. Frequency informs matter. Therefore, tending to matters of the mind is essential. Assessing the environmental ocean of waves you quite literally are bathing in daily. Waves that cannot be seen by most, but felt by many. Waves of artificial origins. Waves that hold deleterious patterns and programs incompatible with your own pool and sanctity. Virgo's gifts of devotion, precision, and service will be supportive in this time, but available at all times. Disrobing and experiencing the vulnerability of the true naked self can be painful for many. And yet, the liberation that follows is the antidote you have been seeking all along to the toxic frequencies, patterns, and beings muddying your sacred waters. Of course, it is upon the back of the highest form of love that this liberation is riding. Never forget this. We invite you to commune with this love. It is the healing, boundless love that feeds the wellsprings of forgiveness, compassion, and acceptance. It is necessary to drink from this river of love to quench one's own thirst first, so that the channels may open for outpouring onto the surrounding parched land, much like the Nile's outpouring gave way to the fertile grounds that nourished many bodies and souls. Ask your sweet body where to begin. Quiet down to listen. Tune in with all kinds of tones. Tune in with all your senses. Trust that your body will guide you. It will always communicate in kind tones, never with disdain or violence. What is it saying? Utilize the energies of this time to light the candle flame of awareness and plant the seeds of devotion in this fertile soil. This is ceremony, a devotional life in the name of love, where you are the ceremonialist, the altar, and the early morning tides of a new earth. So that was our reading for our new moon in Virgo, but really beyond it. Now tuning in and revisiting this feels like that bridge that's crossing moon phases and lunations, cosmic forces, and energetic signatures that we have been swimming through and meeting us in this place of the full moon in Pisces, especially all of this talk about the waves and the tides, which I admittedly forgot about until I just read that right now. So let's get into this full moon in Pisces. Now, Pisces being a water sign, being our psychic of our astrological signs, and this also being our full harvest moon. And it makes me think about the song Harvest Moon, written by Neil Young, but we have been listening over and over and over again to the version of Harvest Moon performed by Lord Huron. We have it on our Spotify, our baby's lullaby list. It's one of the first songs that had actually that sleepy effect for our baby, and he would rock to it and fall asleep to it. And so I can't tell you how many times we've listened to that. And it's just so interesting how now coming full circle and really feeling that energy and the energetics of that song and this particular harvest moon in Pisces, and just feeling all of the waves with that. And looking back, this is a beautiful review period. So this Pisces full moon comes into full blue moon on September 10th. And this is a day after Mercury, our planet of communication and of the mind, stations retrograde. So we got Mercury retrograde officially now. And we have a ton of other planets retrograde as well. We have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and we have Pluto. So anytime there is this much retrograde energy, it's really begging us to review. It's big review time. So looking back over the past year, maybe even beyond that, and not so much thinking about things, but really utilizing the energy of Pisces and this moon in Pisces. And the moon loves being in water signs, right? So this is about feeling into. So when we're doing a review, it's about feeling into the waters and the emotions and the waves that we have moved through over the past year. And this moon is also nestled up to Neptune, Neptune being the ruler of Pisces and the planet of dreams and dissolution. So you may feel, as much as you try to tap back into that Virgo earthy energy, you may feel unsettled and in that wave-like form versus that particle form, if we're speaking in quantum. So you may feel that unsettledness in your being and maybe unsure of how to proceed. And that's okay. So things may not be or feel as clear as you would like them to. This is a very common theme that I'm seeing for so many. So Pisces and this moon is really about tapping into your intuition, intuitive power, and spirituality, your emotions, your dreams, your subconscious, the transpersonal. So this is like a big picture sign. This is not about the nitty-gritty and the material. So this is our understanding of self in relation to the rest of the world. And this is mutable energy. So this is very adaptive, and we can refine and improve and adjust and really ride on the wave, so to speak, of that mutable energy. So while we may experience it as our world, maybe our outside world slowing down or coming to a halt, and things that, we may be challenged with that we want to move, but they're not moving, our internal world, though, is very active under this full moon. So you may experience things literally welling up and the waves of emotion bringing up old things, old wounds, old programmings, old issues, old memories. And some of these things may be things that we were too afraid to look at, too avoidant, right? Not wanting to revisit some of these things. But anytime something comes back to the surface, it means that you're ready to be with it in a different way. It's not about re-triggering maybe the traumatic part of that experience, but it's more about finally transmuting, transforming it, and moving on, especially with so many planets retrograde. So we have to take that time to pause, to tune in, to feel into our inner world and what is it trying to say. And I know that for a lot of folks who have trouble being with your emotions, maybe there's so much there. Maybe you haven't really experienced a supportive way of outpouring those emotions, right? I encourage you to work with others to find things that are supportive for you, practices. Maybe it's a writing practice, maybe it's playing music, maybe it's dancing it out, maybe it's crying it out, maybe it's going for a swim. So utilizing the medicine of water here to be really supportive. Trying to control or force things is absolutely not going to work in the energy of this full moon in Pisces. Now, it doesn't usually work anyway under any influence or any lunation, but especially this one. So if you attempt to, and I'm looking at you, Virgos, to control things, you're going to probably have to surrender. And that is going to be easier when you can simply be with what is and to let go. Now, it's not about accepting things that are unacceptable, but it's about being with the truth of what is and then navigating it with the tools that you have available to you. So the Pisces full moon also has that energy of thinning the veil with that intuitive and spiritual connection. And so it is a portal that we can tap into to access our own intuition, to speak to and connect with our higher self, to speak with our spirit guides, to meet them if you haven't done so. So to do all of those things with just greater ease. And so having that ability to connect with spirit. And if you've been a listener of the podcast for some time now, you know that it's one of my passions to remember the soul and spirit back into medicine and back into our daily lives, us as spiritual beings. And it's not about bypass, but it's about remembering that we are both material in this material expressive world, this co-creative world, but that our true nature is spiritual and that our spirituality, our soul selves make up our material selves. So we must operate with that. And I have an amazing podcast episode coming up with Are Torresen, who is a Nordic veterinarian and clairvoyant and acupuncturist and healer. And he talks about the importance, especially as healers and healing practitioners, of working with and have a working understanding of the spiritual world. So I'm excited to release that out. Now, I had mentioned originally that Mars, that planet of action and energy, was activated under the new moon. It's also activated under this full moon. And that can also be a bit triggering for us still, especially when we're in that emo mode of a Pisces full moon. We're feeling a little bit more sensitive. We might feel vulnerable. We might feel moody, and that's all good. So Mars energy can feel kind of quick, can feel a bit erratic. So just be mindful if you start falling into that or really feeling that for you and it feels challenging. Take it slow. Remember to just go slow and take your time. There really is no urgency. And we expand time as we get fully present with it. So that's the invitation with this moon. If you start feeling that energy coming in from Mars. So it's really about finding your stillness and listening and tuning in. And Pisces is the last of the zodiac signs, and it's connected to the feet. It represents the end of a cycle. So you might find that in this particular lunation, there are some things that come to an end or come to the end of their cycle, something that you've been working on. So paying attention to that, noticing where this full moon in Pisces falls in your chart, and it probably is related to something within that house where it's sitting in your natal chart. And remember to get out of that head and come into the body, moving and really allowing yourself to maybe do a body scan from head to toe. And don't forget your feet, especially with this Pisces energy. Maybe even bring some yummy baths, like you can stick your feet in an Epsom salt bath if you can't do your full body, or if you don't have a bathtub, then you can put your feet in a foot soak, and that's going to be incredibly healing, especially during a full moon in Pisces, and literally releasing things through your feet, which can be very, very supportive. And so getting into the body, into the heart, out of the head, and allowing your feet to also release. One of the things that I wanted to mention as well, during this time as I got over COVID, I was invited to participate in a conversation around what it means to be a sovereign woman. And this kind of brings me back to the virgin goddess, the virgin, which is that woman who is full full and whole onto herself and resourceful. And she's sort of the epitome of the sovereign woman. And, sovereignty has been such a huge topic and theme over the past few years now, but in so many of the Akashic readings that have been channeled, that have been coming through. And I initially, when I was first invited to step into this collective and this container, where there were so many incredible women sharing medicine stories and sharing teachings, I was like, oh man, I don't think I have time for this, right? I was just starting to wrap things up in the sense of other things in my work and trying to slow down. And I asked my guides and I asked my higher self, and I tapped into the records if it was supportive for me to participate in this greater conversation around the sovereign woman. And I got a full 100% yes, which was surprising to me because my logical mind was like, oh, I don't have time for this, or I can't carve some space for this, or maybe this isn't, meant to be on my path right now. But lo and behold, Spirit told me to dive in, and I'm so glad that I did. And I wanted to share a bit of my experience and about this project, Sovereign Woman, with you, because I think that it just rides on the back of so many of the messages that have been coming through about what true sovereignty is. Sovereign Woman is a project that was put together by Jillian McKenzie of Womb and Earth. And you can find her at wombandearth.love. And she had a vision of bringing together all of these incredible voices to build a rich library collection of matriarchal wisdom and sovereign skills in order to support the rise of the wild woman within. So she has compiled a collection, a rich online library of videos, meditations, personal journeys, medicine stories, skill shares, and workshops, plus a bunch of freebies and bonuses that she has added. And they're meant to serve as a resource and a guide to the woman who's on the same path in reclaiming their sovereignty. It's lifetime access. You can explore it at your own pace. And you get over 22 hours worth of video content put together by Jillian's Council of Women. And I had the honor of being a part of this council and speaking. My topic was on remembering forgotten truths. I had also an Akashic channeling that came through, a poem that came through loud and clear for this, which was very surprising to me. It was a different voice than what I'm used to channeling, and it was incredible. And I'm so excited to share it with everybody, so you'll be able to tap into that wisdom and our talk once you say yes and it becomes available over the next week. There's also topics on herbal contraception, on sovereign living, on motherhood, feral motherhood, sister wounds, on menstrual cycle reclamation, ancestral healing, practical self-reliance, radical nourishment for mothers, using our voices to heal, plant medicine, sovereign pregnancy, labor and birth, homesteading, earth stewardship, entheogenic motherhood, priestessing death and rebirth, holistic body care, maternal lineage tending, and so much more. There's so much here, and I am so excited to tap into all the other talks and discussions that are happening within Sovereign Woman. So I have a special link if you go to wildlyrooted.com/SW, as in Sovereign Woman. So wildlyrooted.com/SW, or you can click the link that I have available for you in the show notes. It'll take you to the webpage where you'll learn much more about what Sovereign Woman holds, this library and collection of classes and workshops. And there's a special pricing available for you up until September 13th. So if you tune in and you decide, whoa, this is something that feels super resonant and you want lifetime access to this gold resource library full of medicine stories and teachings, then you get 50% off the price up until September 13th. So you go check that out. The full price of it is $222, so $222. So if you tap into it before the 13th and you use code SOVEREIGN, then you get 50% off, and it'll be available to you for $111, so 111, which in my opinion is a total bargain for what you are getting. This beautifully curated library of medicine stories and intimate talks and classes. Again, you can go to wildlyrooted.com/SW to learn more and sign up. Now, coming back to this full moon, I definitely recommend incorporating something like that, tapping into that wellspring of wisdom and resources, and building your own ritual and ceremony of this full moon around some of these topics. There's a lot there to sink your teeth into, and they're also highly supportive in this time when we can feel a little unsettled, especially how things are shaping up in our external world, how we are really building, co-creating this new earth. It's not such an easy ride, right? And so the more that we can tap into these resources and incredible sources of knowledge to help assist us, that's going to help support our nervous system, as well in very real practical terms, it'll be supportive for you as you navigate maybe some choppy waters for you during this time. All right, so that's what I have for you with this lunation and sort of this moon musing review of our last lunation. I apologize for having skipped that, but honestly, I'm going with the flow, and that Akashic reading really does feel like it was the bridge to bring us into today's lunation and energetic signature. So I hope that this full moon in Pisces illuminates some deep and beautiful medicine for you. Make sure that you're here for it, that you're awake for it, awake in as much of a sense that Pisces allows us to be awake. So in that dreamlike state, in that intuitive, connected state, I encourage you to open up and be fully present. And remember to also be available to what's coming up for harvest in this time with this beautiful harvest moon. All right, my dears, well, have a beautiful rest of your lunation and week, and I will see you in the next episode on the Feed Your Wild podcast.